Welcome, everyone. My name is Anna, and today we're talking to Alexander Pohl, co-founder and CTO of Zelus, a company that develops intelligent automation tools for electronic design and is located in Munich, Germany. Alex studied aerospace engineering and founded Zelus right after completing his master's degrees and has been in business since 2016. The Zelus founders team was motivated by the inefficiencies in electronics development, and Zelus has grown to around 80 employees. We are very happy to have you here today, Alex. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Nisrina, it's your turn.
So I will start first question, which is how is your business performing before COVID-19 or lockdown?
So since we started in 2018 and the company's grown steadily over that period since today, the majority of the company's history and let's say results that we developed were actually after COVID. So I would say we greatly improved and business has been much better after COVID, but that was not due to COVID itself. It was more a coincidence in that factor. What I can say is that the COVID pandemic did have a significant impact on our business, because during the lockdown, first of all, business was slower, and also it was harder actually to, let's say, engage employees into developing something together. So we did hit an impact there, but I think it was more minor for us compared to other businesses.
Thank you. So next.
So do the incentive and supports by governance sufficient and useful for your business during a lockdown?
So for that, I can only speak for the German government in that sense. I would say it has been okayish. It could have been better, but it was sufficient definitely for keeping us afloat and for supporting us to sustain the business. So I would say in a nutshell, yes, it was sufficient.
How is your business performing during the lockdown? Are there any changes in your business and sales? Like any changes for business strategies and so on?
No, I think since we are in the software business, the lockdown in itself didn't have that much of an impact, and definitely not on a strategic level. So we did not change anything regarding to sales strategy or company operation in that sense.
So moving on, I would like to ask about what happened to your business after the lockdown or COVID-19. Is it more sales or decrease in sales?
I would say the sales increased definitely afterwards. As I mentioned before, the period itself was not that impactful for us as a business. The overall growing nature of our business was more dominant in that sense. In reality, yes, business has grown much more since COVID, but there was no causality linked to the COVID-19 pandemic in that sense.
And I would like to ask, how did you convince customers to trust your brand and when your business was still unknown?
So there's multiple ways you can do that. For us, actually, face-to-face meetings are quite important. Our business model is geared towards very large accounts and winning large customers in the semiconductor business. That is dominated also by interpersonal relationships, meaning traveling to people, having business travels, have our sales and executives actually travel to the customer, and having face-to-face meetings is a very important thing to build trust and have them start engaging with business with us. Then, of course, trade shows in our industry are also quite important, meaning attending big trade shows and trade fairs from the electronics background, like Embedded World, Electronica, and those kind of trade shows is very important for us as well. And then, last but not least, I guess the third pillar, so to speak, is marketing, social media, and other channels where we try to promote our business and our brand, and really position ourselves from a thought leadership perspective. So people basically know that we are the one company that is at the forefront of AI and electronics design. And those, I would say, are the main drivers for us to convince customers and build trust.
And another thing I would like to add is what was one marketing mistake you made in the early stages and how did it help you improve your strategy?
I think maybe two things. Number one, we did have a lot of premature marketing activities when we did not know the customer persona that well. Meaning if you don't know exactly who you're trying to target and how does the target audience look like in sense of demographics, profile, etc., you might be wasting time and money. That was one mistake that we made. And then another mistake that we made is investing too much money into advertisement, especially social media advertisement, because that did lead to more brand recognition, more interested users and customers, but the quality significantly dropped. And these days, I would be much more careful throwing a lot of money onto especially social media ads, because the benefit might not be equivalent to the cost in that sense.
All right, for the next question, I would like to know how did you identify the business opportunity that led you to start the company?
So I guess it was that was a process. It was not just one single point in time when we said, "Hey, this is gonna be the best thing since sliced bread." But it was over a period of multiple years from the very early start of the company around 2017, 2016, where my co-founder Tobias and me discovered that there is a lot of inefficiencies and a lot of, let's call it, old processes in the electronics design process, in the hardware design process. And those inefficiencies led us to question the status quo and think whether this can be done better. And then over a period of multiple months, we figured out that this is actually a big problem, also in a monetary point of view, since electronics design is a huge industry. It's not that known to people because it's mostly business to business, meaning it's quite hidden behind brands. But all of you have been greatly impacted, I guarantee you, by electronics design. The world would be completely different without it. And it has a huge impact. And we realized only the years after, I guess, all the way until 2021, I would say, that this can really be a industry-changing movement. How we did that is we talked with customers, we engaged, as I said before, in trade shows, talking to people, trying to come up with creative ways of proposing something different, something new, how you could design something instead of how they did it so far. Piece by piece, I would say, we figured out that this is an attractive market, an attractive business model, and we started also convincing other people that this is the case. And that's where we are then today.
All right. So I would like to add one question. So when new ideas come in, how do you evaluate whether they are worth pursuing or not? Do you have a specific method or criteria?
Sorry, can you help me understand that more? You mean how we evaluate ideas, new ideas in general?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think it's very important to have an open mindset there. Company values are very important to that. You need to foster a collaborative environment where everyone feels empowered to, first of all, share ideas, but then also to make decisions. And that usually is a team effort. I think it happens very rarely that it's just like someone had a great idea and then that's it. It's usually a discussion that happens on an individual level between software developers that talk about a certain idea they had. It happens on management level. It happens on upper management level. Usually we try to encourage everyone to share their ideas and then to find, let's say, efficient ways to exchange ideas. I think diversity in the decision-making process and diversity of points of view is very important. And then we discuss, we figure out like what's the best outcome and if it's a good opportunity or not. And then it is still important that we don't do decision by consensus. Ultimately, every different vertical of the company has their own responsible people, and they ultimately make the decision. And that is also very important because consensus does not always bring the best results. But discussion and collaboration is very important, and diversity in ideas. And I think that's how we try to evaluate any new opportunity that comes up.
Great. So what do you think would have convinced the investors to believe in your vision and also then support Celos?
Well, I think it's Maybe 2 or 3 factors. The first most important one is that this is a huge opportunity. If you just look at the basic fundamental metrics of the market, electronics industry is a huge market. There's a lot of money in that industry. It does not have that much change, meaning not many new companies go, especially in the software field, into optimizing the electronic design process. So it being new and unique, and it being a huge market and a huge market potential that we can also actually quantify. I think that's probably the biggest reason why investors believe into that. And then, of course, the technology, the team that we have, both the technology we built, including all the patents that we have, and of course also the team, I think did help investors convince them. Yeah.
Okay, and regarding intellectual property, why do you mainly have patents and brands in the US since Zelus is a German startup?
That's a very good question. So for us, the electronic or the US market is very important. It probably is more than 50% of our global market. The US is very dominant when it comes to semiconductors, to semiconductor design, but also electronics design in general. On top of that, us being a software company, the United States are more favorable, especially when it comes to patents, so software patents, to actually get them granted. That's kind of different philosophies and on how different jurisdictions allow basically patenting certain ideas. So that ultimately just means that the cost-benefit ratio of having patents in the US is much higher than it is in the European Union. And on top of that, since it's such a dominating market, the impact, or let's say the protection we get from that against other competitors is just so large that it's still very effective. Meaning, if someone would try to compete with us against our patents and not enter the US market, that would still be not like that. That would have such a huge business impact on those potential competitors that is probably not worth it. And that's quite common also for other companies. Microsoft, for instance, does the same thing when it comes to certain Office patents. So that is where we kind of aligned our strategy towards. It's similar-ish for trademarks. It's not that extreme because trademarks you could also obtain quite easily here in the European Union. There, it's mostly the argument of our main market being the US, where we put a certain emphasis there. And that ultimately is one of the reasons why our IPR strategy points mainly towards obtaining those type of IP rights in the US.
All right. So for the next question is, what financial factors did you consider when deciding if your business could survive in the long term?
Can you repeat the first half? Acoustically, I couldn't understand you at the beginning.
What financial factors did you consider when deciding if your business could survive in the long term?
Well, I would say the most important one for us is revenue. Quite simple. Specifically, maybe then recurring revenue. Those are, I think, very important metrics, especially in the software field. Profit is also, of course, very important. If you want to sustain a business for long, you ultimately need to make profits. But for a software business, it is easier to focus mainly on revenue as the key metric because our cost of goods sold are naturally not that high compared to, let's say, manufacturing businesses. So I would say if you want to, the short answer is recurring revenue is the number one thing, and then profitability and break-even point at some point must happen. So those, I think, would be the 2, 3, depending on how I consider it. Key metrics or financial metrics.
All right. So were there any early warning signs or risks you identified before starting, and how did you handle them?
So we are engaging in a high risk, high reward business. We are a startup in the true essence of the meaning. Meaning there is a significant risk associated with that. The goal for us as a management team is more to lower risk over time. I think we successfully done that. But we're definitely not there yet, as it is maybe common for, like, I don't know, probably you can quote someone like Jeff Bezos on this. Every day is day number 1, I think he once said, meaning you need to continuously improve and push for, let's say, continuous improvement of your business. Otherwise, you're going to be out of business soon. That's especially true for us in the software field and in the electronics field. So I would say there have always been warning signs. The question is, how big are they? Sometimes they're bigger, sometimes they're smaller. I think over time, the frequency of those dropped. So we're now much more stable than, let's say, in 2020. We're definitely not there yet. We're not like a well-established business with 100 years of history. So there's still some work to be done. Yeah. And I guess it's then more the question of like individual warning signs, what you can do about it, how you can change your strategy and mitigate them. I guess every business has warning signs. As they say, if it would be easy, everyone could do it. So you will get warning signs for sure. Question is how many and how often.
So next question is, what inspired you to become entrepreneur, and what skill do you think are most important for someone who wants to become entrepreneur?
The number one reason I did it was curiosity. I think starting your own company is one of the greatest experiences you can have. It's also very stressful. I can guarantee you that. But it's the best way to gain new experiences, I would say. And that's what drove me personally. What was the second half of your question? Sorry, I forgot that.
What skill do you think
skill.
are most
Yes,
important?
problem solving. Sorry, problem solving. You need to solve a lot of problems. And you need to find creative ways of solving them. So you won't find a book where you read how you solve your problems. You need to find it out yourself. So that is a very important skill. And convincing people. Maybe that's almost as important as problem solving. Maybe even more, because you can convince people to solve your problems. So actually convincing people, that's the number one thing you need to do.
So next question. What strategies does your company use to maintain grow the business over the time? Strategies.
Multiple ones. I think there is different strategies for the different areas of the business. So for instance, product strategy, we are always trying to improve our product strategy to make it as value creating as possible. If your product and your services solve big problems for your customers, that ultimately means you're creating value, and that means you can be successful as a business. And then, of course, you need to be able to convince and entertain and educate the market that they actually understand that you have this value. And I think that's in the second piece. You can go much deeper into individual strategies there, but I think ultimately is that, like, build a great product and make sure everyone knows about it and understands the value behind that. Then you will be successful as a business.
Okay, so for the last question, what advice will you give to a new entrepreneur about planning for business growth?
You mean planning for business growth?
New entrepreneur about planning.
Exactly that. Focus on delivering great value to your customers, and you will be ultimately successful. How you do that is an interesting question, but that no one can answer for you. You need to find out yourself.
So thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to add or comment on?
No, very interesting questions. Very well done, everyone. I really enjoyed this piece.
So thank you so much for your time, Alex, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you all around.